Hey, and welcome to map 2 of Duke Nukem 3D's Lunar Apocalypse. This is Incubator, and one thing I need to say here, I love the sort of sense of scale that you get when you look out on the skybox in this episode. It just feels so grand and huge, and it just feels so big and empty. It's kind of why I'm a bit disappointed with the N64 version for not having a skybox, but I digress. We're going to face these things here. So these were introduced at the end of the first level, and an easy way to sort of get rid of them is to just play with the door here. If you sort of raise the door up and down, eventually they'll sort of come to the door and sort of self-destruct, which saves you a bit of bother. I mean, they say it saves you a bit of bother and then you get blown up anyway. But the good thing is they actually got rid of the turret that was above that door, so kind of works out for me. So once we sort of come in here, that far door is going to open up. There's a bunch of enemies inside here which we're going to take care of. Sometimes that door can actually glitch out and get stuck, so you got to be a bit careful with that one. When you hit this switch here, the room lights up, but also gets flooded with these annoying enemies. Sentry drones are particularly annoying because they don't actually attack you from a distance, but they can get up to you really quickly, and depending on how little health you've got, they can be very fatal, especially if there's more than one of them. Like, as you can see there, they just sort of run right into you, and your best tactic is either to deal with them from a distance or just, you know, run into them or whatever you want to do, basically. So we're going to grab the pipe bombs here. They're in a secret wall. There is a secret, I think, behind that big EDF logo, which we'll grab later on. But one thing we should talk about is how force fields in this game work. So as you can see, if I get a bit too close, we actually get hurt by the force field. But what's interesting is that we can actually use explosions from the pipe bomb and the other explosive weapons to hit enemies on the other side. So that's kind of useful. Also, one thing I really love about these space levels as well is that you can kind of see the whole level kind of when you look out the windows. So in a minute we'll be looking out the window and we'll kind of have a glance back at the start of the level. First things first though, we're going to get rid of these guys. This is our introduction to the freeze ray. So we're going to plant the laser trip mines there. But as you can see, you can sort of look back on the start of the level and just kind of get a sense of the scale of the environment that we're traversing here. I love it. And what I also kind of like as well is that in some of these levels, there's kind of like this really claustrophobic feeling to some of the rooms. Like this, for example. It feels like there's not much room for battle. It doesn't feel like it's designed for this purpose. But when we grab the Ripper gun here, not the chain gun, a bunch of enemies are going to spawn. Now, hopefully, because we planted these, the sentries will wander into them. No, they didn't. That was great. Oh, so one of them did actually catch it. Okay. So, as you heard there, the laser trip mines can be useful, but you've got to position them where you think enemies are going to be. Is there an enemy here? Oh, yeah. Oh, wow, okay, there is actually a sentry over there. I thought that was actually the shadow of an enemy on the floor there. But you can see here, when we hit this switch, it opens up the security door that we saw earlier on. And as we pass into the second part of the level here, we are going to bump into Slimers. Now, Slimers are a particularly weird enemy. They'll hatch out of these little sort of pod things, kind of like an alien. And what they'll do, they'll chase you around and they'll sort of suck themselves to your face and they'll sap your HP off you. They are not hard to defeat, but they can be distracting in the wrong circumstances. So you've got to be really kind of careful with them. Like, look at that. Doesn't take much to get rid of them, but they can be quite an annoyance if you don't get rid of them. It's best to try and get rid of them before they come out of the little pods there. But as you can see, the sentries are kind of placed so that you don't notice them straight away. Here we can look out onto the ending part of the level. We can't throw the pipe through the door there, but we can sort of blow up some of the Slimers on the other side of that door. We can't actually open it until we open the switch in here, which is what we're going to do. I also love the music in this level. I feel like the music really kind of adds to the sort of loneliness of space, because the first level in this episode kind of had like an upbeat tone of like, and it kind of made you feel like you were mighty and strong, but in this one it's very quiet and very kind of reserved music that really builds the tension up. It's Duke Nukem 3D's got some really great and underrated music in its levels, I find. We're going to shoot that, and it shuts immediately. Brings down the walls around the area that we're in here. So this is the main way that we'll be heading out here. So again, got to be a bit careful. We don't want to lose too much health to the sentries, especially because I haven't really got that much to begin with. So we come over here, we can grab the med pack and shoot it from a distance. Once you start getting shots in on them, they're really not that bad, but the problem is, like, once the sentries kind of are locked onto you, you've got to deal with them. We'll deal with the annoying Octobrains here. So this final area of the level here is a bit interesting because you kind of have to keep your eyes open when you're looking around. Let's kill you, because there is a switch that kind of opens the exit. Let's take care of you. Remember, the Octobrains kind of have an advantage underwater. We don't actually have scuba gear at the minute. I'm going to use the RPG there. And we are going to get our hands on the Devastator in a second. So the Devastator is actually pretty nice to have as a weapon. Like I mentioned previously, it kind of acts like an RPG, except I argue better. It doesn't do as much splash damage, and you can kind of get away with using it in much closer proximity, as you can see here. Picked up the shrink ray there, and the expander. I don't really use the expander all that much, I have to say. I think the expander is not really one of my most used weapons in Duke Nukem 3D. But again, I love how, like, these corridors here just have that otherworldly feel to them. Like, it's all being corrupted around here, and things have kind of gone very, very bad on this space base. Ugh. See what I mean about these being annoying? Like, they why am I using the shrink there? That's a terrible idea. Yeah. Well, of course it blew itself up in my face, so... But yeah, there's nothing really there for us. So you can see these guys will follow us across water, they'll follow us across roofs, they'll go on the floor. They really don't mind, like, traversing the level to get to us. There's a whole bunch of pods in here which I don't really want to deal with. So you can see I got rid of them all with the pipe bomb here, which is super cool. Oh gosh, okay. Didn't expect that. Okay, that caught me off a bit there. I do not want to die here. So there's health. Is there? No, so we're just going to use the shrink ray here. It's the safest option, probably. I say probably. We only have 2 health. That's not good. Yeah, so there's health either side. So that's the exit. And yeah, this is an interesting level. I don't think it's as strong as the first level in this episode, but I do definitely think it's got its own charm, and it's definitely got like a bigger sense of scale going on. But what we're going to do here, I'm actually going to do something that someone commented on in the last video, and I'm very curious to try it out here in this video. So I'm going to no-clip through here. I did not know you could actually come out here and sort of walk up to these like things here. So you can see here, this is the satellite that's kind of in the distance, and you can actually walk up to it, and you can even get a good look at the level from the outside. Unfortunately, there's quite a few death planes when you no-clip in Duke Nukem 3D, but I thought that was a really fascinating way to kind of just go out and have a look at the props on the outside of the level, because obviously, like, you never really get to go up and look at them. So now we'll take a look at the N64 version here, and again, you can kind of look outside and yeah, it's a downgrade. Unfortunate as it is, they've still got the satellite out there, which is fun. But I don't know. You can also see the door texture here is kind of a lot low res, which, you know, we'll be seeing that quite a lot in this episode. So there you go. That's kind of how you're supposed to do that door trick. Generally, if you do that, you can get away with not having to waste your ammo on those, which is nice. You can also see that the lighting in here is a bit less stellar, so it's not as dark and it's not as sort of gloomy. Ow, thank you for that. So grab the pipe bombs here.
Where is it?
So, as you can see, they raced right for me there. They were not waiting for me. I was trying to get back to use that door. Oh my gosh. So yeah, that is basically designed to sort of catch you out if you're not fully prepared. Oh look, you can see the shuttlecraft over there. Well, maybe we'll have a look at that at the end of the level. But you can see here, it's very much the same design. The force field looks a tiny bit different in this version, and I think the enemy there was on the other side in the PC version. But other than that, you can still sort of get to them using explosives.
Where is it?
But again, I do like how this feels like a modular base and how it just does not have much space to it. It feels very much like you're in a tight confined area, and you know, it's not designed for that. Oh, what's this? Plasma cannon. Okay. So this replaces the shrink ray, it looks like. Oh, I can hold this. So as I mentioned, I've never actually played the N64 version. So, interesting. Let's see if we can make use of that as we move through the game. Get rid of that cannon. I do love the explosive effects in this version. They feel much more dramatic when you blow things up. Didn't see you there. So that's opened the security door again, and again, it's just a nice feature of Duke Nukem that you can kind of have a nice look across the level. Oh yeah, we didn't get this in the PC version, did we? Let's have a quick jump in here. You can see there's a portable medkit there. Let's head into this part of the level. I understand why some people are not like a big fan of this second episode. These levels are certainly a lot more linear. There's less sort of scope for exploring and finding different ways in some of these levels, but I do think that these levels still have a big charm to them. So we can't kill the babes in this version, but we can save them, which is a really interesting addition. So we'll head down here, and you'll notice that the gated door from the PC version's actually gone. It's now just a full-on door, which I guess makes sense because on the N64, like, there's obviously performance issues. They don't want to have too much on show on screen because that's a lot to load for the N64. But it's interesting because I was watching the Duke Nukem 3D developer walkthrough, and they mentioned that when they made this port, the N64 ports, they actually had full access to sort of the layouts of the levels, so they were free to make whatever changes they felt necessary to get the game working. And it's interesting that in a lot of these levels they don't make that many changes, they just make little subtle changes here and there. There's a few graphical changes in this version for sure, and one can only imagine that's because of the limitations on the number of textures they probably had access to on the Nintendo 64, but you can still definitely tell this is the same level that we were playing just a few minutes ago. If you look down there you can see the doors opened up, but I kind of just want to go down this way. That got a bit messy there. That got unfortunately very messy. So we don't need the health there, ironically, because we grabbed the one from behind the big logo. This final area is a bit interesting because obviously if you don't know where that switch is, you kind of have to go hunting all over the place to find where it is, because if you don't find that switch, you really don't have a way of finishing this level. So I love the grenade launcher, but I also hate the grenade launcher because it kind of makes hitting flying enemies a lot more difficult. Oh, so we got the rocket launcher here. That's an interesting change. So the rocket launcher effectively acts as the RPG. Ow. So we were drowning then. We very nearly lost it there. So we have to be careful because obviously Duke will start drowning if we aren't careful. Grab the rockets from in there. Yeah, we'll just use the rockets here to clear out the enemies in here and free all the babes. It's a lot of babes, isn't it? It's interesting that that's a mechanic in this version, but not in the PC version. And the funny thing is, because the bullets just pass through them, you can kind of just shoot through them here. Send you back home. Ow, thank you for that. And that's of course why having those med packs on hand was pretty useful. Again, I'm a fan of this one. I like this level. It's very tense, it's got a lot of challenge to it, and it kind of requires you to do a bit of thinking as well, because unless you go for all the secrets, there's actually not that many resources available, so you can kind of very quickly run through all your ammo. So what I'll do, rather than kind of hit the exit, because I'm not really curious about the exits, we all know how the exit works, let's kind of go out here and have a poke around outside here, just because, you know, we can. So you can see here, that shuttlecraft is actually just above the building there. It's not even that far away, it's just kind of scaled to look like it's far away. And you can kind of get a look back on the level here. It's very fascinating being out here. And you can see if we go through this wall, you can see that that's where we end up. So yeah, that's Duke Nukem 3D's second level in space in Lunar Apocalypse. Wow, that is really low res compared to the PC one. But yeah, let me know what you think of this level. Did you like it? Do you hate it? What did you think of the differences between the two versions? And let me know what you think of Duke Nukem 3D overall. Thanks for watching.